What is going on, guys, and welcome to another video. Today we're going to be talking about how to play Invoker. Now this is going to be an updated guide, as our last guide is kind of old now, and it's time to give you guys some new tips, newer ways to play Invoker, and a lot of things have changed about Invoker. So first of all, Invoker is no longer a universal hero, which honestly is kind of weird to even see anymore, but Invoker is back to being an intelligence hero, so it's a lot different on the way you play it, but some things are still similar. First of all, let's break down the facets. So this didn't exist when we did our last guide. The facets are very important on Invoker right now, and it's not as dominant as it used to be. So Agent of Galaron was your Exort facet. That used to be pretty much the one you would pick every single time. Even if you weren't going to be maxing Exort at first, this would still be the one that you'd pick because Exort would gain an extra level, your Aghanim Scepter would grant Cataclysm, and your Shard would upgrade Sunstrike, which means when you would cast Sunstrike and it would cause damage, a Forged Spirit would spawn on that location. So it was pretty cool. Now if you pick Mind of Tornadus, you can actually get benefits for Wex, so you gain an extra level for Wex. Your Aghanim Scepter upgrades to Tornado, spawning other smaller tornadoes, little twisters, along its path. Damage is based on Wex and a maximum of 150 damage per second, and it also buffs your EMP. So as of right now, Mind of Tornadus seems to be the one that's performing the best in my opinion, and overall I see a lot more Invoker players picking up this facet. I think it's very underrated and a lot better than Agent of Galaron, unless there's really good Cataclysm setup. If there's good Cataclysm setup, then obviously take Agent of Galaron. That's going to be better for your Exort. And last but not least is Scholar of Korix. This one honestly is not the best one, and it never has from the beginning been any good. I don't think this has seen a lot of playability at all from any Invoker player. I've honestly never seen anyone pick up this facet. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. You have an extra level on Quas. Ice Wall becomes Vector Cast, which is really good. I do like that idea. I just think it would be better as a talent. It roots as well, so it's okay. It's not terrible. And your Shard upgrades Ghost Walk and now applies Ice Wall damage. So at the end of the day, it's two abilities that you don't really use as much as the other one. So Tornado is something that you use a lot more than you use Ice Wall. To be honest, most people are going to be using that a lot more. Yes, you do use Ghost Walk a lot, but you're not going to be using that to walk beside enemies and damaging them. That's not something Invokers are going to do unless you're maybe playing Support Invoker. Maybe that's okay. I guess for Support Invoker it doesn't seem too terrible, but you'd probably still want to pick either Agent of Galaron to get that extra Cataclysm, because even if you're playing Support Invoker, it still feels really nice to be able to get that Aghanim Scepter and pair it up with a hero like Faceless Void, or you can even pair it up with heroes like Gyrocopter with the missile. The stun is long enough for you to be able to cast Sunstrike, and that's something I want to talk to you guys right off the get-go, is heroes that have a lot of synergy with Invoker. So obviously you have heroes like Faceless Void, but there's also a lot of heroes that you might not be thinking about. So Gyrocopter is really good with his missile, Pudge Dismember is really solid for Sunstrikes, Axe Call is good. All these heroes are very good. They're going to make your life much easier because Sunstrikes is what you're going to be using most of the time to be able to get kills around the map, because Invoker is still a hero that requires a lot of farm in the mid lane. It's not a hero you want to play Quas Wex like you used to. You don't want to run around with a Vessel because it's just not as effective. Vessel is not as good of an item as it used to be, and it's just not as effective of a build as it was before. So you want to use these pairings like Vengeful Spirit and all these heroes that I mentioned before for you to be able to get that set up for your Sunstrike in the lane and be able to land a good Cataclysm as well if you have Faceless Void on your team. And it's really going to boost these heroes because they're going to be getting free pickoffs, and they're also going to benefit a lot from the XP, which you won't. You will be benefiting from the kill and the gold, but not the XP because it will be based on a Sunstrike. But in general, the playstyle Invoker is playing nowadays is very different than it was before. A lot of people were playing a lot of Midas before and just very greedy. You're still playing greedy on the Invoker, just no Midas. I haven't seen a whole lot of Midas amongst very talented Invoker players. It's just a very slow item build. Midas as an item is not that great anymore. I think only heroes like Ogre are building that unless you're having a really rough game. I don't see Midas a whole lot. I think the item's kind of dead right now, and I don't really see it coming back anytime soon unless they buff it. But when it comes to Invoker, a lot of people just tend to go with your casual treads and starting to go a little bit more of a right click build just so Invoker is able to do some more damage early on. A lot of people tend to rotate into that right click item build with the treads, the Witchblade, or the Mage Slayer, and then some people go back for Aghanim Scepter and then Shiva's Hex. You have your Lincoln Sphere, your Daedalus. There's a lot of options when you're going right click Invoker. You could go for hybrid damage, you can go for Chrysalis and Daedalus and go for a lot of actual pure raw right click damage. You have really good options. You could go for setup and control. That way if you get your Aghanim Scepter in Mind of Tornadus, you're really going to be blocking a lot of positions early on, and you can rush that Aghanim Scepter, because I actually think despite the damage, I think just zoning off supports would be really strong strong because it spawns all these little mini twisters along its path. It's a big deterrent for squishy supports to be able to walk through because they're going to be taking a lot of damage and they're really just going to set up for you to get easy pickoffs on them. So it's a really good deterrent, and especially if you pair it with Ice Wall, is going to be very difficult and set up for a very easy meteor combo, which is one of the combos that I highly suggest you guys to go for. You cast your tornado and you either use your cold snap or you could use your Ice Wall real quick and then land a meteor with the twisters going at the same time with your Aghanim Scepter. It is a shit ton of damage, guys, so do not sleep on that. And in terms of the magic build, you have your treads into Orchid. You could still buy Vessel if need be. It's not that great, but even an Urn wouldn't be terrible. If you're having a pretty rough game and you want some good stats, Urn is not too bad. Maybe just don't upgrade it to the Vessel. And then you still have your Aghanim Scepter, your Refresher, BKB if need be, and items of this nature. You pretty much build whatever you need on the hero, but in general, more right click builds are being a lot more successful, and just overall this Invoker that's coming online around the 20 to 25 minute mark is an absolute menace on the map, and you just continue to back up your team using Sunstrikes, which is really good. And if your team understands how to play with an Invoker, your power spikes and what you need to get done for the hero to be successful, because this is not your classic Invoker that used to just run around, get level 6 and just run around with an Urn and get a bunch of pickoffs. That style doesn't really work anymore, so I don't recommend for you guys to try that style anymore, because you're just going to be chain feeding and you're going to have no gold. Going for a Midas is pretty much going to be useless. It's not going to be doing a whole lot as it was before. So overall, you do have to change your playstyle if you are one of those Invoker players playing Quas Wex. But if you are a beginner player, that is when I kind of recommend the style, because it is fairly simple to run around the map with Cold Snap, Tornado, EMP and still get a decent amount of value. I think that is the best style to learn if you're a new Invoker player. If you're a seasoned Invoker player, you should not be playing that style. But if you are new and you're trying to get some games, Exort is going to be a little bit difficult for newer players to get a hold of, because Sunstrikes are difficult to land enough. Even as a seasoned Invoker player, landing Sunstrikes is always going to be very difficult. As a newer player, is going to be even harder because you just don't understand and you're not really reading movements as much, and you don't really understand the timings as well of the Sunstrike. You're not going to be doing a whole lot with that. So when it comes to being a new player, I recommend Quas Wex. Let's talk about some good and bad matchups for Invoker. So typically Invoker is good up against heroes like Medusa, Slark, Wraith King, Viper, Chaos Knight, Witch Doctor. These heroes you have always been good up against, especially heroes like Medusa. That is when you actually want to enjoy playing Quas Wex and you want to max Wex a lot more just to be able to get that mana burn. It really makes Medusa's life a living hell. And same with Slark. Slark without mana is pretty much a creep. He doesn't do a whole lot and his mana pool is pretty small. And in general, Slark just doesn't want to go up against an Invoker. There's just too many things, and even though he can purge, cold snap and things like that, he just doesn't want to go up against you because you can just easily walk away from him with Ghost Walk or just Tornado him. You just have a lot of things in your kit to be able to survive Slark's initiation. Again, your mana burn is good against the Wraith King, but as well as Viper, Exort Invoker does very well against Viper in the lane. Your Forge Spirits do quite a bit of damage to the Viper, and you're able to win that lane fairly quickly, especially if you get a really nice Meteor with Tornado Cold Snap combo onto the Viper. Can be a very easy pick off for you to get, and especially if you bring a support into the lane. Let's talk about some of the bad matchups. So heroes like Chen, Puck, Bristleback, Tusk, Phantom Lancer, Visage, either very high damage heroes or illusion heroes. Invoker does not do well against any illusion hero. Even though your Meteor is a good tool, it takes way too long to come off cooldown and is not reliable enough to take care of illusions. Heroes like Phantom Lancer just have an absolute field day against Invokers, and you really don't do well against that matchup at all. Bristleback is a hero that really doesn't care about what you do to him. Your damage is not strong enough. You don't have enough burst to be able to take care of that hero, especially if he has a tanky build, which typically they do. You're not going to be doing a whole lot to him. Heroes like Visage have so much damage mitigation, and with his shard he can get a lot of HP back, and in general you're going to be bullied out of lane. If it's a mid lane Visage, you're going to be bullied out of lane no matter if you're playing Quas Wex or if you're playing a mix or a hybrid or even Exort. You're not going to have a good time. You just don't have the right click damage to be able to outlast hit Visage, and most of the time he's going to be taking away your attack speed, and once he has level 6 with his familiars, you're going to be kicked out of lane if you weren't already. It's just a very brutal matchup matchup. And heroes like Tusk as well, it doesn't get played a whole lot of times in the mid lane anymore, but when Tusk used to be played in the mid lane, invokers would have to just leave the lane, because every time the Tusk would go up, he would easily get the pick off, if not completely zone you from the wave. So if it does become meta again, you shouldn't be playing invoker versus Tusk, because it is not going to be going well for you. And again, heroes like Chen have the Chen army, so you don't do well against those. And heroes like Puck just have a lot of catch and have a lot of mobility. Invoker does not like heroes that have that much mobility. Even heroes like Ember can do very well against invoker in the mid lane. These types of heroes you don't want to go up against, because that very high mobility can easily dodge your entire combo. You have to be very perfect when it comes to landing your combos if you do want to catch a Puck off guard, and most of the time you're going to be missing them, because it's just very difficult to get an on spot perfect timing to lock down the Puck and be able to actually do anything to him. Your laning stage against Puck is not that terrible because you have your Forge Spirits, but if it is a pretty good Puck, he will just go for the Forge Spirit all the time and zone it out, or you're going to be feeding them in general, and that's not something you want to be doing. But let me know in the comment section below what you guys think about Invoker so far. I think this patch Invoker is very balanced. The hero is not broken whatsoever, but I think he's in a really good spot. He's in a very healthy spot. The hero gets picked pretty much by proficient Invoker players. I like the fact that that's the way it's going now, because Invoker, when he was broken, everybody was picking him, and a lot of the times you would either get a really good Invoker player or you had someone just picking him because he had a high win rate. Now I pretty much see most Invokers that are playing right now are proficient Invoker players, or at least good enough to where they're doing something in the team fights. Not as many new Invoker players are coming into the space, and I think that's also not that great. I think Invoker players should be coming in and learning the hero and putting time and practice. Just do it in unranked games. Invoker is not the hero that you want to be playing in a ranked game on day one, because you will be losing MMR. The hero takes quite a lot of games just to get the basics and the fundamentals of it, and I hope this video taught you guys something and at least put it into practice. Learn your combos. One of the things you guys could do to make your combos a lot faster is have your orbs already pre-prepped. So one of the things you could do is have two abilities that you know you're going to use most likely. For example, Cold Snap and Tornado. Have them pre-casted, so already have them ready to go, and then have the next orbs for Meteor, for example, have them already there, but don't press R. That way when you need it, you already casted them. You don't have to respawn the orbs. All you have to do is press your R, you're gonna invoke it, and you're gonna cast it very, very quickly, because if you have to just click the buttons, spawn the orbs, and then click it, the timing might be gone for you to get that Meteor. And a lot of really good players, when they were starting, that's one of the keys that they did to be able to be a faster Invoker player at landing your combos. That is one thing I always recommend for newer players, is just to pre-cast your orbs. Obviously, if you need something else for the combo, then do that. But for the most part, most Invoker players, if you're going to go for a gank, you're going to have your Cold Snap or Ice Wall, or you're going to have your Cold Snap, Tornado, and then have your Meteor ready to go. All you have to do is invoke it, and it just makes the combo a lot more efficient. You're doing a lot more damage, and you're going to be getting better pickoffs around the map. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys did, consider subscribing and joining the Dota Chronicles community. I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for watching.